A lone car cuts through a desert highway toward a structure that rises unnaturally from empty land. The engineer studies blueprints, unaware the building has already studied her. A lone car cuts through a desert highway toward a structure that rises unnaturally from empty land. The engineer studies blueprints, unaware the building has already studied her. Inside the cavernous lobby, sound dies instantly, swallowed by thick concrete and stale air. Footsteps echo back wrong, delayed, as if the space breathes. The caretaker emerges without greeting, keys clinking like warning bells. Her eyes measure the engineer, not with curiosity, but calculation. Rules come quickly, entire floors off-limits, the roof unsafe, certain corridors never used. The caretaker speaks as if correcting past mistakes. The caretaker's son appears silently, lifting bags without eye contact. His presence feels practiced, like someone used to moving unseen. They pass sealed apartments labeled only by numbers scratched out and rewritten. One door bears fresh screws, metal biting into concrete. The assigned unit is bare but intact, untouched by dust despite abandonment elsewhere. The engineer notes this, unease replacing professional focus. Later, blueprints spread across the floor as she maps rupture points. Several walls appear inexplicably thicker, swallowing measurement tools. A sudden shout echoes from below, followed by metal striking concrete. A hostile resident storms past, rage aimed at the unseen future demolition. The caretaker dismisses the encounter with forced calm, claiming the building resists change. Her choice of words feels deliberate. That evening, the engineer drives to a mini-market, desert wind scraping the car. She searches public records, curiosity overriding caution. Archived headlines reveal missing adults linked to the complex, discovered years later inside its walls. No perpetrator was ever confirmed. Returning at night, the building seems altered, corridors narrower, ceilings lower. Logic insists nothing changed, yet her instincts disagree. The caretaker's son waits near the stairwell, offering unsolicited warnings about restricted levels. His voice trembles with rehearsed fear. He claims the upper floors listen, remembering weight and movement. The engineer dismisses it, though the walls hum faintly. Alone again, she hears a low thud from behind her bathroom wall. Water in the sink ripples without cause. She presses an ear to the concrete, catching a distant, rhythmic knock, too deliberate to be settling. Fear sharpens into certainty. A mirror trembles violently, screws loosening as if pushed from behind. Dark fluid seeps through hairline cracks. She staggers back, heart racing, convinced the building is testing her limits. Tomorrow's inspection suddenly feels like an invitation. Morning light struggles to enter the complex, filtered through narrow slits instead of windows. The engineer begins structural surveys, tension sharpening her focus. She marks stress points along load-bearing walls, noting inconsistencies that defy architectural logic. The building seems reinforced where collapse should be easiest. A dull clang echoes above, footsteps pacing where access is forbidden. The sound stops the moment she looks up. The caretaker intercepts her questions with rehearsed answers, steering conversations away from the building's past. Surveillance monitors flicker behind her. That night, insomnia drives the engineer into the corridors. Every turn looks familiar, yet subtly wrong, like a copied memory. She hears whispering through ventilation shafts, indistinct, layered, overlapping. The source shifts as she moves. The caretaker's son appears again, offering to show restricted levels after midnight. His eagerness feels practiced, rehearsed too many times. Against better judgment, she follows him upward as lights dim automatically behind them. Each step erases the last safe exit. The forbidden floor opens into unfinished concrete chambers, walls scarred with sealed seams. The air smells metallic and wet. He points out a section where a body was once extracted, voice shaking with reverence. The engineer notices tool marks hidden beneath paint. Power cuts abruptly, plunging the floor into darkness. Panic rises as the engineer stumbles, slicing her leg on exposed metal. Emergency lights snap on moments later, revealing how close she fell to an open shaft. The caretaker's son avoids her gaze. Back in her unit, she cleans the wound, hands trembling. The walls tick softly, counting time. As sleep finally takes her, pressure builds around the room. The walls close inward without moving. Footsteps outside reveal an unexpected visitor, the engineer's partner, arriving unannounced. Relief briefly cuts through dread. She gives him a tour, avoiding restricted areas until curiosity wins again. Together, they return to the forbidden floor. Behind a false panel, they discover a narrow passage overlooking apartments below. Someone has been watching everything. Realization hardens into fear. The caretaker's son knew her routines intimately. Trust fractures instantly. Confrontation with the caretaker yields denial and silence. The son retreats, humiliated and watching. The engineer decides to leave after filing her report. The building seems to resist, groaning through the night. The caretaker's son returns with an apology and a gift, a weathered journal bound in concrete dust. The journal details hidden voids at the building's core, designed to outlast time itself. The engineer realizes collapse calculations are wrong. The caretaker's son rushes to the roof to prove the void's existence. Minutes stretch into silence. Shouts echo from above, followed by a sickening impact. The engineer and her partner run toward the sound. They find a massive vertical shaft hidden beneath a removable slab. A voice cries for help from below. A rope is secured, and the engineer descends despite fear. The shaft swallows light instantly. Halfway down, metal spikes fire from the wall above. Her partner collapses, struck and bleeding out of sight. The rope snaps loose, sending the engineer plunging. Darkness consumes everything. She awakens at the bottom, bruised but alive. Another presence breathes nearby. A gaunt man steps forward, skin gray with age and dust. He smiles as if expecting her. He reveals recordings mimicking cries for help, explaining how voices travel through the building's veins. Nothing here is accidental. A note drops from above, taunting and possessive, confirming the caretaker's son orchestrated everything. Escape was never planned. The imprisoned architect admits to designing living tombs, believing sacrifice strengthens concrete. His pride outweighs remorse. Above, the caretaker argues with her son, realizing the engineer was never meant to join the dead. Fear cracks her loyalty. Demolition crews arrive outside, unaware of what lies beneath. Timers begin counting down. The architect prepares a final ritual, carving a concrete chamber for himself. He believes one last burial will save everything. He begs the engineer to end his life, offering her survival in return. The building vibrates as detonation nears. Above, the caretaker's son breaks, screaming for the engineer as guilt overwhelms obsession. The countdown continues. Concrete begins to flow into the architect's chamber as the engineer makes her choice. The building waits, listening. The architect sinks into the hardening concrete, relief washing over his hollow face. He thanks the engineer as the mixture seals his chest and silences him. The shaft trembles violently, pressure traveling upward like a pulse. Dust rains from above, choking the air. Explosives arm outside, blinking red in synchronized rhythm. The building hums louder, almost expectant. The caretaker's son collapses near the shaft opening, sobbing uncontrollably. His obsession finally fractures under consequence. The caretaker grips him tightly, torn between protection and guilt. Sirens approach faintly in the distance. Below, the engineer searches the shaft walls for any service ladder or maintenance crawlspace. Her fingers brush rusted rungs. She begins climbing as the structure shudders violently. Each rung vibrates, threatening to tear loose. A blast detonates prematurely on a lower floor, sending a shockwave through the shaft. She barely holds on. Above, the demolition supervisor screams to halt the sequence. Timers continue counting regardless of commands. The engineer reaches a maintenance hatch just below the roof. Her hands bleed as she forces it open. She collapses onto the concrete floor as alarms blare around her. Fresh air burns her lungs. The caretaker stares in disbelief as the engineer emerges alive. Fear turns into resignation instantly. Authorities arrive, restraining the caretaker while her son screams protests. The truth spills uncontrollably. The demolition is officially aborted as structural anomalies register off-scale. The building refuses collapse. Paramedics treat the engineer inside an ambulance as she stares back at the structure. It stands unchanged. Investigators seal off entire wings, uncovering reinforced chambers hidden behind walls. Evidence confirms ritualized construction. Archived permits reveal dozens of similar buildings across the region, all sharing identical structural signatures. Weeks later, the engineer returns briefly under escort. Silence inside the complex feels heavier than before. She places the architect's journal into an evidence crate, sealing his theories away. Some knowledge should not circulate. A government order preserves the building indefinitely for study. Destruction is no longer an option. At night, floodlights illuminate the structure, casting long shadows that resemble figures within the walls. The engineer watches from a distance, haunted by sounds memory insists still echo. She knows the building remembers her. Reports confirm every building designed by the architect remains standing, unaffected by time or damage. Patterns emerge worldwide. Survivors' testimony forces new ethical laws banning extreme experimental architecture. Lives are no longer acceptable materials. The caretaker's son is institutionalized, obsession replaced by silence. He refuses to speak about the shaft. The caretaker awaits trial, eyes empty, legacy destroyed. She never looks toward the building again. Months pass, yet seismic sensors beneath the complex detect rhythmic internal pressure changes. The building is still active. Experts debate whether the final sacrifice truly stabilized the structure, or fed it. No consensus forms. The engineer declines every interview request. Survival does not feel like victory. She dreams of sealed walls cracking open, not to release bodies, but breath. She wakes determined never to build blindly again. Years later, vegetation fails to grow near the complex, soil compacted unnaturally hard. The land remembers too. Security footage occasionally captures vibrations with no external cause. Investigations are quietly shelved. The engineer publishes new safety standards focused on transparency and ethical design. Her name becomes synonymous with reform. Still, every anniversary, she drives past the site, compelled to confirm it remains unchanged. It always is. The building stands untouched, silent, victorious in its own way. Legacy preserved through blood and belief. Authorities officially designated a permanent exclusion zone. No one will live there again. From afar, it resembles a monument rather than a residence. A testament to forbidden ambition. The engineer finally turns away, choosing distance over understanding. Some structures are meant to remain unexplained. Behind her, the building absorbs nightfall, its walls cooling slowly. It waits without urgency. The outcome is clear: the engineer survives, the building endures, and the cost is permanently written into concrete. Weeks later, engineers attempt microdrilling tests on the structure's outer walls. The drills overheat instantly, metal warping before penetration. Core samples reveal impossible density variations, layered like sedimented choices. No two readings ever match. The engineer submits her final affidavit, documenting every anomaly without speculation. Facts alone feel disturbing enough. A permanent perimeter is installed, monitored day and night. The building is officially removed from all habitation records. Media interest fades once no demolition footage appears. Without spectacle, the story quietly dies. At dusk, thermal cameras register heat pockets deep inside the walls. No mechanical source is identified. Experts conclude the structure cannot be safely dismantled without unknown consequences. Preservation becomes containment. The engineer turns down a promotion tied to experimental construction projects. Her priorities have permanently shifted. She begins teaching ethical design protocols, emphasizing what should never be built, no matter the promise. Students ask about the building only once. Her silence answers more than any explanation. Far away, the structure endures sandstorms without erosion, surfaces remaining unnaturally smooth. Time fails to claim it. Seismic sensors record a final irregular pulse, then settle into steady silence. Activity ceases, or stabilizes. The exclusion zone expands slightly, more land surrendered to caution. The building keeps its distance. On the anniversary of her escape, the engineer drives past without stopping. She does not look back. Behind her, the building absorbs the fading light, unchanged and unchallenged. No witnesses remain. Official records label the site as structurally immortal, functionally inert. The words feel insufficient. The engineer finally sleeps without dreams of walls closing in. Survival becomes something she no longer questions. The building remains, not as a home or a tomb, but a warning shaped in concrete. No further sacrifices are made, and none are needed. What was done cannot be undone. The outcome is final, one life reclaimed, one obsession sealed forever, and a structure left standing as consequence.